persona, or if you have your own business and you do go in gob, then maybe you get attention, you can get out a business card, or tell someone to come and find your wares at a Ren fair. So,
and if you put the time into your costumes, even at a Ren fair, people are going to come and want to have their pictures taken with you and that type of stuff.
It's true. That happens a lot. Wandering the lanes.
Yep.
It's true. Very good. All right, let me skip that one. I'll come back to it in a moment. If you were to garb up and go to a Renfest and you were not selling anything, what type of character would you go as?
I've always liked Robin Hood. I think he's just one of my favorite medieval characters. I think I would probably dress in something similar to the Robin Hood type of a character. Maybe a merchant, because I feel like that's something that is easy to just kind of put almost anything on and say I'm a merchant.
And you could talk the lingo.
But I think that, I'm not really interested in being a knight, or, there are some costumes that have to have such specific pieces that before you know it, you're on a rabbit trail and you're spending a lot of money to get a costume together. Robin Hood, you can put some fairly neutral pieces together with the right hat, and it's a Robin Hood costume.
Very good. I like that answer. I'm glad I asked that question.
And you know why Robin Hood's hat is pointy?
So he can run faster and it breaks the wind like a bicyclist?
So it doesn't foul his shot with his bow and arrow. If you have a wide brim on your hat and you shoot, it can foul your shot.
That is very good. I'm glad to know that. All you aspiring archers out there, good tip. Very good. You mentioned that you've seen some, I've met a few famous people. Who are some of the other people that the viewers would know? Did you not say you met Lou Ferrigno?
I met Lou Ferrigno in Wichita at ICT Comic-Con last year. That was really great. He was super, it's a wonderful thing when the people that you admire end up being nice people. Because there are some actors out there that are just so full of themselves, and they believe that their ground they walk on is just too good, and they don't talk to fans, they don't really interact with fans. Recently, I've been doing Comic-Con with a friend of mine, and he does them in several different locations, and I've been at 3 events with him this year, and Clint, and he had the actor who is the last living what are they called, the guys that wear the goggles and the masks in Star Wars and the
Sand people.
Tusken Raiders? Tusken Raiders. He was the last living Tusken Raider, and there's an actor who, when they did all the revision scenes with CGI to Star Wars, he played Darth Vader. He's actually worn the Darth Vader in more movies than the original actor has.
David Prowse?
Not David Prowse, but this is the guy that did the scenes after David Prowse died. They wanted to reshoot some of the scenes with CGI, and so he's worn that costume more than anybody else. And they've been at the last 3 events I've been to, and they're both just as nice as they can be. Super nice guys. And so the first person I met was Ray Bradbury.
Oh, nice. Ray Bradbury Theater?
Yeah, Ray Bradbury. He was just writing. He was at a writer's convention. I got to meet him. Actually got to have lunch with him because I was sitting by myself at a table at the cafeteria, and he and his agent walked up and asked if they could join me for lunch, and that was an experience I'll never forget. So yeah, I've had some neat opportunities to meet famous people. Met Kevin Sorbo, met Dean Cain.
Nice.
And yeah,
nice.
That's a bonus. The Renaissance festivals, you're not going to meet a lot of famous people.
Nay.
But the Comic Cons, I met, like I said, I met Shatner, met Alice Cooper, Jason Momoa was running around.
Oh wow!
In a Kansas City Chief jacket at one of them. So yeah, it's cool.
Very nice. For you younger viewers, Lou Ferrigno was the original Hulk in the 70s, 80s on television series. So he was also in 1 or 2 seasons of King of Queens with Kevin James.
Yes.
And Leah Remini.
Playing himself.
And he is deaf, is he not?
He was born deaf. I'm almost completely deaf, but he has recently got a cochlear device and he can actually hear now.
Oh, nice.
So it's very interesting.
That is a very good device.
Yep.
Very good device. Let me see if my All right, I'm going to save that one. What is your favorite Renaissance type movie or television show, Dave?
Oh boy, you know, we're fortunate because those types of movies have become more popular now than they used to be. Back in the 70s and 80s, there weren't very many. We were talking earlier. My favorite movie from the 80s is Dragon Slayer.
I need to write that down.
Dragon Slayer is just a great sword and sorcery book, kind of a Dungeons and Dragons mythology type book where you have a young man who has to go rescue a woman, and he has to go slay a dragon to rescue her, and he goes and seeks out a wizard, and the wizard helps him forge the right weapons, and it's just so well made, especially considering that they didn't have any CGI. It was all natural effects that they had to do in reality, and it's just so well done. It's one of my highest recommended movies from the 80s. Love Knight's Tale. Knight's Tale is one of the, I think for somebody who's a casual Renaissance person and not just you have people who are in the Renaissance festivals because they are so deeply into fantasy that's their world. And there are a lot of great movies out there, but if you're just someone who likes Renaissance festivals and you're in it kind of casually, Knight's Tale is just, it's hard to beat. Princess Bride is very good. Those would be my top ones. As far as the series, I don't feel like there's been just a ton of really great fantasy series. I think that the Lord of the Rings trilogy was great. The Hobbit trilogy was okay, but they had to stretch the story way beyond what it should have been stretched. I think that they should have done The Hobbit as a single movie and then done Lord of the Rings, and that would have been the more appropriate way to do that. But I've watched some of Game of Thrones, but there's just a lot of content in Game of Thrones of me being a pastor that I ended up just fast forwarding most of it, so it's like a mini series for me.
I see. I've not indulged in any of those either. Keep myself family friendly as well. yeah. You can't do that with. An episode of Game of Thrones is like a 20-minute episode after you've taken all the stuff out of it. Oh my, that will save me a lot of time then. Very good. And you mentioned, was it the Sword in the Stone movie from the 80s earlier? Or was it Excalibur?
Excalibur, but also there was, if you wanted to go through the list, Legend was a good movie, Willow was a good movie. If I had my list in front of me, I could give you probably 10 good movies 10 movies that are watchable from the 80s. And there are just a bunch of them that are just unwatchable because they're just done on such a low budget that they're just a good laugh, and that's about it.
I see. Very good. Well, thank you. I'm going to check out the Legend and Dragon Slayer. I watched part of Willow, but not nearly enough. I need to go back and find that.
Willow's coming back as a series.
Oh, I see. All right.
They're I can think of his first name. Warwick is his last name. Warwick Davis is his first name. Warwick Davis played played in Willow, and he's much older now, and they're coming to him as a man who will help protect the girl that was the baby in Willow. Now she's grown up and she needs to be protected again, and he gets a fellowship together and they go to protect her. And all the previews I've seen look really good.
Nice.
So I would say that's one that's worth looking into.
I will definitely do that. Gramercy. And aside from vending, you used to run a Renaissance Festival.
I ran the Great Bend Renaissance Festival for 7 years. First year we had a tornado drop on us the first night and wiped us out. And after that we started off at our fairgrounds for a couple of years, then we moved to our zoo grounds. They closed in an area so we could gate it, and we did almost the rest of the whole time we were there. We were at the zoo, and then we did 1 year combined with the June Jaunt in Great Bend, and that was not as successful. But yeah, we tried it for 7 years.
That's very nice. I wish you would have had more of a population base to patronize the event. I'm sure that would have helped tremendously.
Yeah, it's a learning experience. Running a festival is a learning experience. The thing I've heard is if you're planning on doing a Renaissance festival, you have to plan on like a 5-year journey to really see if it's going to make it or not. If you're only going to try it for a couple of years, it's not long enough to give it the legs it needs to grow and to become whatever it's going to become. And so, yeah, there's a lot to learn, and it's no one can tell you what it's like on a Friday night when you know the fair's opening the next day and rain clouds are rolling in. Or you're watching the weather and it's iffy. You might have rain that weekend and you might not, and you're going, "Oh Lord, I cannot have rain again. We've got to have a good weekend." And no matter when you do it, no matter where you do it, other events are going to be going on. So there's no such thing as finding a weekend where you're going to be the only thing going on. So you're always competing with other events. And if you're in some parts of the country, like for a Great Bend, Renaissance is not what everybody's into. We have the racetrack here, and we've had races going on the same weekend as the Renaissance Festival.
Oh my!
And you can't compete with it.
But you would not draw nearly as many people from the racetracks, perhaps, as you would to come to a Renaissance Festival.
Right.
That is good. So you can still check my site, see the other Renaissance, medieval, Viking festivals going on in your region the same weekend. But sometimes it still doesn't pan out. And I've told people running festivals that you can still draw patrons around your town if there's another town 200-300 miles away that would not come to your town, but you might miss vendors or performers that would go to a different event, especially if it's already established and they know they can do well.
Very true. But I think that there's still enough vendors out there that are wanting to break into a new market, and maybe they're not doing great at a fair they've been doing, and they say, this fair's been okay, but maybe there's a better fair. I'm going to try this fair instead. So there's a mentality that's certainly like that.
That's good. That's good to hear from the vendor side, because I do not get that myself.
Yep.
I don't get it sometimes. And at least the first year, I was at your first year and your last year of your event. I hope you don't think that as a harbinger. But one of the performing groups at the first year was EZNDIL. How did you meet Ezra and Billy?
I met EZNDIL at a little festival in Missouri called Whiteheart. And they were there performing, and then we were there for vacation, actually, because my mother-in-law lives half an hour from Whiteheart. And so we went there to stay with my mother-in-law, and then we went down to Branson after the fair was over, or in between weekends, because it was a 2-weekend event at the time, and we were down in Branson, and there's EZNDIL performing on the street in Branson, playing music, and had their guitar opened up, and their case opened up for tips, and got in a conversation with Mike, and who is Ezra, and we started talking about performing at the Renaissance festivals, and he was just getting started doing those kinds of events, and he wasn't sure, and I just kind of encouraged him to stay with it. And so if you like Ezra and Dilly, you can thank me.
He has a Facebook page. He has two.
Yeah.
David H. LeRoy and Feather in Your Cap. Feel free to send gratuities there. He can tell you what available. Many of the people, I'm sure, who tune into my live broadcasts are fans of EZNDIL. So.
EZNDIL are great. They are not traditional Renaissance. I don't think they're a traditional Renaissance act. They don't dress up and do the these and thous. They just are. The EZNDIL that you see at the events is who they are in real life.
They really bicker that much?
Oh no, they don't bicker that much, but the songs they sing and the personality. Mike is just hyperkinetic all the time. He just goes all the time. And he reminds me of Robin Williams, the way ideas come to him, and he can just go. And you could be sitting at a dinner at a restaurant with him, and he's just doing that at the restaurant because that's just who he is.
Oh my! Pray for Dilly. Pray for that poor lady.
Yeah, Nancy needs your prayers.
Oh, she's the front row seat to that.
In the merry month of May, from me home I started, left the girls in tune, nearly broken hearted, deluded by the dear. Yes, me darling mother drank a pint of beer, me grief